Someone cooked here. Hello there. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Studio Series Age of Extinction Deluxe Class KSI Widow, or better known as Widowmaker. Of course, changed probably to avoid lawsuits with Blizzard. And of course, to get it out of the way quickly, this figure of course comes in a box, as all figures do. It's a box, it exists, there's some artwork on it, but we're not here for that thing. We're here for this. And yes, this is a concept figure based on concept art of Widowmaker, who originally was the first early version of Stinger. She surprisingly got pretty far in concept art, getting down to even having some 3D models done of her. They did change her alt mode for this figure as well as color, but I think it was a nice change to give her own character. Now with Widowmaker, the first thing that you may notice is the fact that despite being a female Transformer, she doesn't have a gargantuan backpack. Yes, they finally remembered that you can actually engineer stuff into the legs. Wild concept, I know. This thankfully creates a figure that doesn't have a giant car shell on her back. Who would have thunk? She does have some very nice sculpt work going throughout, of course. The sculpt work, I will say, I question how much of it is just made up by the Hasbro team. It's hard to describe, but the details very much do feel more made up in the style of those early 2007, 2009 Transformers that are original toy-only characters. The details here very much feel like those. So I question how much of this is actual concept art based and how much of it is just completely made up. Because if you look at our concept art that we have seen publicly, none of it looks remotely like this, with only small sections of it really being similar. And especially the head sculpt, which on this figure, the head sculpt, it looks great. I mean, as just a head sculpt, it looks pretty darn cool, and it has like cool sunken in eyes that are very piercing orange, and it has like cool dreads, and it's very nicely sculpted and done, but it's not based on anything as far as I can see. All of the artwork we've seen of her and the various head sketches that they've posted online, none of them look like this. The dreads kind of look similar to some of the artwork, but the face, not really. And that part, I will say, I would have preferred some of the earlier concept art where she had like almost a human face that was like separated into almost a mask. I think that kind of looks cool. It was almost like a creepy mannequin, kind of leaning into her original name of Widowmaker. But I think on this toy, this looks fine. Very impressed by how much paint is going on here with the silvers, the orange eyes, and little accents of orange on the cheeks, which is very interesting to see. And speaking of the paint, I mean, she has a surprising amount, I will say. For a deluxe class, this has a good amount of paint, honestly. She's got silver right here, orange bits here, here, and here on the arms. She's got gunmetal on the shins here. And she even has parts separation where these sections of the car hood are separate pieces and not gray paint. And this is a separate orange piece. Even the kneecaps are separate pieces. That I was kind of surprised by. Frankly, they could have just left them flat like this and just not had them articulated, but they didn't. A lot of it is just broken up with color blocking of just plastic colors, but I mean, it does a very good job with that, which is good. I mean, that's what you want, really. You don't want paint to do the heavy lifting on a figure. And the fact that she doesn't have a backpack outside of these car doors, I mean, that's insane. It's so flat here. Because all of the panels are pretty much, like, almost half the car is just here in the leg, which is just kind of wild. But it's a very smart thing to do. It's very evocative of that Transformers Prime Viacon that they released, the RED version. That thing had some insane engineering in it for the time, obviously 2013, that was 10 years ago. They literally figured out probably the best solution to not have kibble on a thin character, and then they just completely forgot it. I don't know why or how, because it's not like those figures weren't budget gutted. I mean, that line was famously known as when they like regressed the budget. So yeah, I was kind of surprised by how it took them over a decade to finally bring back that engineering, and I'm glad that they brought it back on an outstanding figure like this. But yes, on the back here you can see she's got dreads here, which does play a tiny bit of annoyance for me with the head, which I'll get to in Articulation. But yeah, there are some dreads sculpted into the back there, and a 3mm port there for a stand, which is nice to see, because for some reason Age of the Primes is kind of losing those ports. And then of course just the rear is just the car parts, but it's fairly sleek, so it doesn't really get in the way. Same thing with the hips, the car panels kind of just nicely fit, similar to Bumblebee. In terms of concept characters, unlike Sunstreaker, I think this has good enough sculpting to actually work with movie figures. That Sunstreaker though, I'm still convinced it does not look at all like a movie character. Articulation wise, you have the head that's on a ball joint, goes side to side, although the dreads do clash with the sides of the car. And annoyingly, because of the sculpted in dreads, she cannot look up properly despite the fact that they made a cutout. That is annoying. You basically have to cut this off. You got a ball joint at the shoulders, which allows for pretty much full range there. Got a bicep swivel, and a 90-degree joint at the elbow. No wrists, unfortunately, but it's understandable given how thin the arms are. No waist, unfortunately, though that's due to the transformation with all the hinges back here. The hips are on ball joints, and they pretty much have unlimited range. You can pose them however you want. And we're not going to do that with this, but we have a full range there with the legs. Thigh swivel here. The knees, unfortunately, get only that far with the piece here in the way, but if you move it out of the way, you can get a solid 90-degree bend there, and you can just put this over. It's a slight inconvenience, but it's not too annoying, thankfully. And unfortunately, no ankles, because, I mean, due to the transformation, they couldn't work it in. It's unfortunate, but I think ultimately it is fine to skip a joint here or there if the overall figure is amazingly engineered. Now, accessory-wise, she does come with 2 cannons. And these cannons do have some very nice sculpt work going out throughout them, and they're just sculpted in gray plastic. Now these attach onto her arm through this slot and these little nubs that are on the inside of the cannon, and you pretty much just put that over her arm, and it clips in, like so. And there you go, she now has a arm-mounted / wrist-mounted blaster. Looks pretty good, actually. I dig it. It's a very different look from the usual cannons that you see on movie Transformers that are either replacing their arms or like just handheld. And these weapons do have storage, which is very nice. On the back of the car doors there are slots, which these little tabs go into. And they rest on the inside of the doors like so, which kind of just ends up looking like a rocket pack of some sort. So you can kind of imagine she now has a jetpack, which, hey, why not? They put jets on Optimus in the Age of Extinction, so this, I would say that she would have made a very interesting opposite to Bumblebee if Stinger wasn't made. Probably would have actually preferred her as a villain than just a clone of Bumblebee. I guess the only real downside to this is she's such a well done figure that I honestly can't look at this as just a drone. So I guess maybe that's why they scrapped her for the movie, because this has so much character to it that it really wouldn't have worked as just a mindless drone. And for some quick comparisons, here you have Age of Extinction Optimus. And for a deluxe comparison, here she is with Rise of the Beasts Nightbird, which is kind of a prime example of how not to engineer a female Transformer, frankly. I mean, just yikes. It's kind of insane how much they messed up on Nightbird. You can pretty much just point to Widow for every problem that Nightbird has and just say, do this instead. You disgust me. Though I guess one benefit is you can give Widow Nightbird's sword, I guess, if you have her. It certainly suits her far better than Nightbird. Now, since unlike the actual KSI drones, this figure is not made out of Transformium, so we're going to have to actually transform this. And interjecting here, she does have weapon storage in her legs, which is very cool to see. Don't really see that in Transformers very often, especially movie ones. And here you have Widowmaker and her vehicle mode. And as you can see, she turns into a very lovely licensed McLaren MP4 12C. I totally did not have to Google this. Now, as you can see, very lovely vehicle mode. The orange color for this, which I forgot to mention in robot mode, very stunning looking. And that is the very reason she is orange, because on the set of Age of Extinction, they happen to have this McLaren as one of the KSI drones. I don't think we even got to really see it in the movie. Maybe we did for a split second somewhere in the background, but I don't even recall seeing this McLaren in the movie, so I think it was a perfect choice to make her this McLaren. And the bright orange very much sets her apart from Stinger. It has a nice metallic sheen to it and just so good looking. I mean, it's insane to finally have a licensed McLaren as a transforming figure. It's not something I ever expected to see, really. And it's so well done. I mean, nothing is missing. That is the most impressive part of this. They didn't skip out on anything. The rims, painted silver, and they're pinned. Rolls, of course. They have the little gunmetal sections right here. They have a little tiny little paint app right here in between the windows, like the actual car does. There's paint along the window side here. The windows right here, and as well as the rear windows and even these small ones, They're inserts. They actually have window inserts on this for once, which I find wild compared to, I don't know, 80% of Studio Series where they just make something out of a solid panel of clear plastic and just paint over it. She even has the windshield wiper painted, the headlights picked out in paint, even the tiny little McLaren symbol painted in red. The nice silver back here, gunmetal for the back. It's insane how well done this is. This kind of feels like something from the Dark of the Moon era before the absolute crash in budget that Age of Extinction had. It's just insane to me that they do this in the modern day. They can make really good deluxes. They just don't. Which I guess is a good enough segue to compare her to this piece of garbage. Doesn't even deserve to be on screen for that long. But I think that's about as much as I can really say about her. I think this is a phenomenal figure. I'm going to say, pick this thing up. Absolutely do. Go out, buy this thing. It's awesome. I would say get this while you still can. Especially at the current deluxe. This is like one of the only deluxes currently out that I can safely say is actually probably worth its full price. Which is shocking to say considering how expensive they've been getting. But yes, especially for the current price before the increase. Yeah, this is worth it. But that'll be all. Thank you for watching, and please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, all that lovely stuff. And please feel free to check me out on my Instagram page, where I will be doing updates on videos as well as just posting pictures of figures for fun. Thank you for watching, and have a good day. Clip on, dang it.